نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome back everybody after the weekend, and I'm really happy to see your presence right now. And also, sorry for the inconveniences right now because of certain, issues. Ma'am was unable to join today for the Ramadan session. Inshallah, we will continue from tomorrow. And as for the Qaida session, we have some more time today as well. So inshallah, we will cover some important points today. So I also hope that you must have revised the rules that we did in the previous week, because they were very important. We did all of the letters, right, their names and somewhat of their sounds as well. So I asked all of you that you should be remembering, like memorizing the names of the letters for now. And I also told you that you are not supposed to worry about the similar sounding letters or similar looking as well for now. So inshallah, for our like fifth session today, inshallah, we will see the differences between similar sounding letters, inshallah. So first of all, for this, there can be like 2 points, like differences between similar sounding letters. So similar sounding letters can be because of the reason that the articulation point of the two letters is same, right? Uh, but just because of the way, like a different way of how we pronounce them, because of that, the sound of the letter changes a bit, right? The articulation point of the two letters or three letters is same, and the way we articulate it, like the quality of letter can change or something like that. That is how the sound can, sound can be like similar of two letters. And the second point can be that the sounds are similar uh, when we hear them. Like their articulation points can be very different, like the articulation point of two letters can be different, but their sounds when we hear them, they just like look alike, right? So these are the two things that we will see. So let us see like one by one which letters are similar looking, and we will inshallah see the differences as well. So the first difference is this one that we have already, that we already did as well, right? Between the Alif and Hamza. We did this on our first lesson, I think, if I'm not wrong. So I told you that this Alif here, the first letter here, this Alif is a letter of elongation, right? And that is the major difference. This is a letter of elongation and this is not a letter of elongation, right? And I also mentioned that, what this letter elongates, it elongates the sound of the letter that comes before it, right? The sound of the letter that comes before it. And I gave this example as well of word kana. In this kana word, there is alif here after the kaf letter. So the alif here, we are, we are just elongating the sound of the previous ka here. Kaf letter with a fatha makes a sound of k, right? K. And because of this alif here attached with it, we elongate the sound and say ka, ka. Rather than ka, we say ka. So alif is, used for elongation, and that is why, alif does not come at the start of the words because it elongates the sound of the previous letter. So there must be any previous letter before that, right? To do that. So for now, you know that alif elongates the sound of the previous letter, but this hamza, like this comes from a totally different position. This hamza is articulated from the portion of the throat that is near to our chest, right? But this alif is just a letter of elongation and makes a sound that is just from our mouth, from the, when we just say that is just coming from the portion of our mouth, and this does not have to do anything from our throat, but this comes from the portion of our throat which is the lower portion. And also you are not supposed to, I said, confused this with alif because of the way it is written. this hamza is written like this as well, like the alif symbol, and on top of that you might see a small hamza written there. So this as a whole is a hamza and not alif, I mentioned. And again, this is also a hamza, and sometimes you will also see hamza written like this. For example, in this exam, when this word comes in Quran, alladhina, right? So when this word comes in the middle, and you will find this symbol written on it. So there is a reason for it as well, but for now you will see the hamza written in these ways and in this separate form as well. Okay, so these are all hamzas, and hamza comes from the lower portion of our throat, and this makes a proper clear sound, just like the sound of alphabet A, and a proper clear sound, right? Proper clear sound, I mean that we say anna, like the sound at the start of this word, anna. This is very prominent, unlike the ka, kana. The sound is very, like soft sound here, very light sound here. But here the anna at the start, or if, e here, if. This is very prominent, and same here in alladhina, right? So this again is the proper clear sound of this hamza letter. And how this is proper sound, because this hamza comes at the start of the letter words as well, right? Unlike alif. So this comes at the start, so we have to start the word from this letter, and this makes a very clear sound there as well. So I again point here that there are symbols on it. Okay, so this is an important point as well, that another difference between Alif and Hamza is that on Alif you will not find any symbol written on that. Okay, what do I mean by symbol is of the like basic symbols of Fatha, Kasra, Dhamma, and all of these other symbols. On Alif you will not find any symbol, just like here in Kana, you do not see anything on letter Alif here. And in the next example of polib, paw, paw, again, the sound of alif is just an elongation of the letter paw here. Polib. So here again on alif there isn't any symbol of fatha, dhamma, or kasra, right? And same is the case in this example of lana, lana. The na sound here is extended, and again on letter alif there isn't any symbol, but on hamza there are symbols, right? There is a symbol of fatha here, there's a symbol of kasra, and there is this symbol as well, and sometimes you will find a sakin on it as well. So hamza has symbol on it, whereas alif does not. So these are the differences. Again, I have kind of revised for you. So, as I mentioned that, Alif is a letter of elongation, right? And Hamza is not a letter of elongation. It has a, proper sound and proper articulation point as well. Whereas Alif comes from just like from our mouth, right? Mouth portion. Same is the case with, two other letters as well. There are in total three letters of elongation, which is Alif letter, Waw letter, and Ya letter. From these three letters, alif is only is a letter of elongation, right? We can say that, whereas hamza has a sound of a, right, a proper sound. But in case of waw madda, this is waw is same, right? There isn't any other name for waw, just like there was alif and hamza, two different names, right? For kind of similar sound, there were two different names of alif and hamza. For vowel, letter of elongation, you are not supposed to worry about these symbols. Just hear what I'm saying. Right? There are three letters of elongation, which are alif, waw, and ya. So for vowel letter, there is again a letter of elongation, which is the same vowel here. But we will see how vowel becomes, in which cases vowel is a letter of elongation, right? And again, there is a letter which is ya. This is also a letter of elongation, but this is a proper letter with a proper articulation as well, right? So for now, you just need to remember that the letters of elongation are three. Okay, so other than that, it's we will inshallah do that in the next sessions, inshallah. So I just mentioned the three letters of elongation for now. because we are, seeing the difference between Aleph and Hamza. So I mentioned the term that this is a letter of elongation. So right now, making it's a bit more clear that there are three letters of elongation. Okay. So let's move on to the difference between the two and next letters. So here the difference is of Hamza with letter Ain, right? So earlier we did Aleph and Hamza. Now we are going to do Hamza difference with letter Ain. So here in this case, their articulation is different, right? Again, the articulation is different, and how this Hamza letter, it comes from the lower portion of our throat, right? It comes from the lower portion of our throat, which is near to our chest. Whereas this Ain letter comes from the middle portion of our throat. Okay, so this comes from the middle portion of our throat, and let's see, how they are articulated when we put a symbol of fatha on them. Here on letter, on letter Hamza, I put a fatha, so we just say a, a, and here I put a fatha on Ain letter. So we will say a, right? I hope you will be able to hear the difference. Let me say this first, and then I will say this. Okay, this is a, a, and this is a, a. You will hear that, I am trying to, make this sound from the middle portion of my throat, and this is, a throat, this is a sound that needs your effort in terms of, constricting the muscles of your throat from the middle portion, and then, making this ah ah sound. This is simple sound, ah, and this is ah. Ah, okay. So that was, a difference that this comes from like a very natural. This is very natural sound that you are already familiar with, and very easy as well. This again is easy, but because you are not familiar with this sound, so you will have to work on the muscles of your throat a bit to articulate this sound. Okay, so the technique is it is not that you know not an easy way to put the technique for you guys. Why? Because I just say everyone that for now, as a beginner, what you can do is that you can just try to differentiate these two a little bit for now, right? At the start we can say this, right? We can just say the simple sound of a. If obviously you are able to articulate this a sound, right? So the point is that you just have to make the like put some effort on the muscles of your throat to differentiate this with this at least, right? And inshallah, if you will put effort, because most of the time people are not putting that much effort for this ain. They just say the sound from their mouth, right? They just make just put do not put this effort required. So once you start putting the effort from the middle portion of our throat of your throat, and try to make this choking sound or something of that sort, then inshallah you will be able to make this sound of ah ah okay. So let's see the example here is anna. This word is starting with Hamza letter with a fatha, so we're making a sound of a. Anna. And the next example is ala, ala, right? So very simple here. And in the next word here is sa'ala, sa'ala. Okay, sa'ala. So again, a sound here. Let's see the ain here. This is anna, anna. You can feel from the very start I am saying anna. In the next example, I am saying ala, ala. For this, I said ala, ala, and this is ala, ala. Okay, so for this, I am saying sa'ala, sa'ala, and this here is sa'ala, sa'ala, right? So this is, kind of same sounding words. So here with ayn and saying sa'ala, a. Okay, I hope you know the difference is clear for now. For now, you can see that there is a difference, and you have to put some effort to create this difference, inshallah. Let's move on to the next two letters. These are ha letter and ha. Ha letter and ha. So again, they are different in terms of their articulation. Again, this ha, as we know that this comes from the portion of our throat that is near to our chest, which is the lower portion of our throat, and this ha comes from the middle portion of our throat. So there should be a great deal of difference. Okay, for their articulation, there should be difference which should be very clear, very prominent. Okay, so from lower portion of our throat, and this is from middle portion of our throat, and this ha, you will also see this written like this as well in this round shape. Okay, so these are the same ones. Okay, so this is the way we write when we write this as an individual letter separately, and this is the way we write when this is joined in the letters. Okay, so let's see this ha letter when we put a fatha on it. So we make a sound of ha fatha, ha ha sound here, and when we put a fatha on this letter, we say ha ha. This was ha. This is ha. So what is the difference? I have written, this way as well. That the name of this letter is H. Okay, HAA. The ha sound. Ha. Right? This is a very clear H sound. Ha. But for this, the sound is more airy. How? Because there is more airy sound of H sound at the start, right? So we are making a sound of ha, ha. This was ha, and this is ha. Let's see the example here as well, right? This is the word here, halaka, halaka, right? So there is a letter ha with a fatha on top of it, and we say this from the portion of our throat that is near to our chest, and we make a sound halaka, halaka, right? You can hear this hemming sound in this letter, halaka. So let's see a similar, sounding word here, which is halaqa, ha. Here at the start is this ha from the middle portion of our throat, and we're making a sound of ha, ha. This is a bit more airy, right? Ha. For this ha letter, first we are making, this airy sound. We are pushing the air from our throat, and then we are making a sound of at the end. Ha. So for this word, we say halaqa, right? Halaqa. For this one, the sound was more clear when we say halaka. Let's see the next example. This word here is ahlu, ahlu. And with the other ha, we say ahalla, halla, right? You might be able to hear the difference. Ahla, ahlu, ahlu. But here we say ahalla, ha, ahalla. Okay, let's see the next example here, which is Ahmad, Ahmad. And here ahassa, ahassa. Okay, I hope you can hear the difference. This is ha and this is ha, ha. Okay, so this is a difference between these two letters. Again, that this is a bit more clear sound from the middle, from the portion of our throat that is near to our chest, and the sound is very, very clear and very similar to the H alphabet of English, right? But this is different to the H alphabet of English. This is not that same sound. This is more airy, and we are making this sound from the middle portion of our throat. And a first step is to push the air and then to make a sound for this letter. Okay, let's move on to the next alphabet. Okay, so the difference is of now letter ta and pa. So, unlike the previous differences that we have covered, for those differences, the difference was in the articulation as well, right? The articulation was different as well. But for these, two letters, the articulation of these two letters is same as well, right? So So I was mentioning that the articulation point of these two letters is same. So what happens in such differences is that one letter sometimes is heavy and the second letter is light. So we will inshallah see that as well. What do I mean by heavy letter and light letter? So let's see the difference between these two letters first. That how their articulation point is same. So for these two letters, what do we do? Tip of the tongue, we touch that with the back of our upper teeth, or more specifically, you can say with the roots of our upper teeth. Tip of the tongue touches the roots of our upper teeth, and we say ta, ta, like the back part of the upper teeth, and we say ta, this first letter, right? Ta. And for this second letter, the articulation is same, but we do this with strength. Tip of the tongue touches the back of our upper teeth with strength, first point. Second point is that back part of the tongue is raised for this letter. Okay, so this letter was the letter, the, and this is paw, the, paw. So this is a light letter and this is a heavy letter. Their articulation point are same. The first letter here is light and the second letter here is heavy. Okay, so how letters are made heavy is by raising the back part of our tongue to do that. Okay, so we just say ta and pa. This letter here with a fatha we say ta, and here with a fatha we say pa. Ta and pa. In English, we say these letters as, empty mouth letters. These light letters, we call them as empty mouth letters as well. For these heavy letters, we say that full mouth letters as well. Full mouth, right? Because for these letters, we are, our mouth is just in a natural position, our tongue is in a natural position, and we just make a very easy sound of ta, the. But for these letters, our mouth is full somehow. Why? Because we are raising the back part of the tongue and, accumulating some of the sound in our mouth as well. And that is how we make the heavy sound and say paw, paw. Okay, so let's see the example. The first word here is kataba, kataba, ta sound here in kataba. Here we see the example of basa paw, paw. At the end, there is letter paw with a fatha, and we are making a heavy sound of paw, paw. I am not saying ta, ta. My mouth does not feel empty, but rather it is like kind of full, and I'm saying paw. So the first here is ta, ta, ka, ta, ba, and this is ba, sa, and paw, the heavy paw here. So let's see the next example, which is qatala, qatala, qatala. Ta again here is light. Here let's see example talaba, pa, talaba. I'm not saying ta, talaba, ta. I'm not making this empty, mouth sound. I'm not saying this lightly, but rather I'm saying pa, paw. And how I'm doing this, tip of the tongue touches the back of our upper teeth with strength, first point, and the back part of the tongue is raised to make it sound heavier. So the next example here is tabata, tabata. At the end, there is letter ta with a fatha, and I'm saying tabata. Here, ta example, tama'a, ta, tama'a. I'm not saying tama'a, ta. I'm saying ta, tama'a. Okay, so the difference is this is ta and this is paw. Ta, paw. Okay, so let's see, the next point that we will cover is that, as I was mentioning that The ta letter is a light and the ta letter, ta is a heavy. So what are the light letters and what are the heavy letters? So, there are like 7 letters which are always heavy. You will have to obviously memorize these, okay? You will have to memorize these. There are 7 letters which are always heavy, and I mentioned that heavy letters means that for them we raise the back part of the tongue. While we are articulating them, we are raising the back part of the tongue and making our mouth full to say those letters, okay? And these are these letters: the kha letter, the sad letter, the wad letter, ghain letter, pa letter, qaf, and wa. These are the 7 letters which will always be heavy, so you will have to remember these letters. Also, there is an abbreviation to remember these letters, which is this abbreviation: خص ضغط قل. So again, obviously abbreviation is in Arabic again because of these Arabic letters. So if you remember this abbreviation by saying خص ضغط قل, so you will remember these 7 letters here in this, right? And these will be always heavy. In the previous difference we saw that this qa is a heavy, right? So you see the qa here written is a heavy letter, right? So then there are certain letters which are sometimes heavy and they are sometimes light. Okay, we will see that how when they are light and when they are heavy. For now, you just remember that there are certain letters which are sometimes heavy and sometimes light. So these are 3 letters: the Alif letter, Lam letter, and Ra letter. These are 3 letters. Again, you will have to memorize these 3 letters, okay? Alif, Lam, and Ra. These 3 letters. So these are like 7 plus 3 letters. These are 10 letters that you will obviously have to remember. For you, okay, you will have to memorize these 10 letters. And other than these 10 letters, of heavy letters and heavy and light letters, all of the others 19 remaining letters, they are light letters. They are always light, okay? So these are, this is another thing that I would just say that you guys try to just remember this for now, but I we will try to move on a bit slowly as well. So for now, you know the terms that there are some letters that are heavy, there are some letters that are light, and some are sometimes heavy and sometimes light. So that is, how you will have a better understanding of the differences between the similar sounding letters as well. Just the way we did here in this ta and ta here, right? Articulation point was same. The difference was just that one is a light letter and the other is heavy. So let's do another difference. The next difference here is of letter dal and bod. So again, these are like the letters from different articulation points, right? Their articulation is in no way same. But unfortunately, sometimes, for beginners as well, no, not a problem. They can, get confused with their sounds as well. And let me tell you how. So the first letter here is a light letter. Okay, first letter here, dal letter here is a light letter, and the second letter here is bod. And this is a heavy letter, not only a heavy letter, but the heaviest letter from the Arabic alphabets. Okay, so for this letter, whenever you see this letter, just make it as heavy as possible. And how do we make a letter heavy? Is by raising the back part of our tongue. So for the first letter, let's put a fatha on top of it and see the sound of it. Dal letter here with a fatha on it, we say the, right? A very light sound, the. How do we articulate this? Is that tip of the tongue? It touches the back of our upper teeth and we say the sound. And I also mentioned that you will find this sound, similar to, just the way we say THE in English, or we say this word in English. The sound at the start of this word, that is the same sound of this letter dal, the here. Dal letter with a fatha on it, we say the, right? So you're already familiar with this sound when we say the English word the. Okay, so the difference of bod here is of articulation, obviously. that dot letter is articulated when the sides of the back part of our tongue, right? The two sides of the back part of the tongue, or you can just take one side as well, and you put that or you touch that with the upper molar wisdom teeth, right? The sides of the back part of the tongue, they touch the upper molar wisdom teeth, and you make a heavy sound of law. Bod letter with a fatha and we will make a sound of bo. This was the and this is bo. Okay, so I said that for the light letters our mouth feels empty and we say the. Why it feels empty? Because our tongue is in a resting position. It is in a normal position and we are just making a sound the. For these heavy letters, the tongue has to put some effort. The back part of the tongue is raised as much as we can. So, for these letters, our mouth feels full. And that is how we say law. This is the and this is law. Okay. So, the first point I mentioned of the difference is that their articulation points are different, right? The first point is that. The second point I mentioned is that one letter is light and the second one is a heavy one, right? So these are the two main differences. So let's see these examples as well, right? So the word here is darosa. Darosa. At the start there is dal letter and we are making this light sound darosa. So in the next word here qadara. The second alphabet here is dal with a fatha, so we say da qadara. Qadara. Right? What happens is that all of us, are easily able to articulate this dal here, right? So there isn't any problem when it comes to the articulation of this letter. So that is I've marked a tick here, right? What happens is that the problem arises in this letter of bod, and these letter becomes similar sounding. Why? Because we convert this lod into this dal. We do not convert this dal into lod, nobody does that thing. Okay, the problem comes when we change this lod into this dal. When we do not make this lod sound heavy, or, right, we do not make this heavy, or we do not, articulate this from the proper articulation point of it. That is when this lod letter becomes like this dal. There are so much different, right? But because of the way we do not like, they are still somehow similar sounding, right? So that is the problem mainly with this. So let's see the example. How do we make this thought sometimes sounding like dal? So the example here is darasa. Lo. Darasa. At the start there is this letter bod with a fatha on it, and I am making this not only heavy, but I'm also articulating this from the proper articulation point of this, right? I'm taking the sides of the back part of my tongue and I'm touching those with the upper molar wisdom teeth, and I'm saying lo. For this lo letter, you will have to touch the sides of the back part of the tongue with strength to the upper molar wisdom teeth. When with that strength part is missing, right, when we are not touching the sides to the upper molars with strength, that is when the sound can look alike like dal here. So if I will just say darosa, darosa, that is dal here. Okay, I should not be saying the I should not be saying the these sounds. Okay, the sound here is lo. Wo. This is not this is not empty mouth sound here, rather a heavy letter, full mouth sound, and I'm saying lo. Lorosa. Lorosa. Okay, let's see the next example. Wada'a. Wada'a. Lo. Here again, lo. I should not be saying wada'a, wada, or wado, wado. This is not again a proper sound. I should be saying lo. وضع وضع. Okay, let's see the next example here is بعض بعض. I should not be saying ba'da, ba'da. That will be, dal sound. Okay, so this is ba'da, da. Okay, so the next example here is dhalla, da, dhalla, da. Right, at the start there is the heavy, dhalla. This is not dalla, da. This is not the sound, this is the, dhalla. Okay, I hope you can, hear the difference via Zoom as well. Hopefully, inshallah. This is letter dal. When we put our fatha, we say the, a very light sound. The. And for this, we say the, the. Okay, I hope you can hear the difference, inshallah, as well. Let's see the, next difference. This is, difference of the letter with seen letter. The letter and seen letter. So here the articulation points are different for both of these letters. This the letter is articulated when we put the tip of our tongue at the tip of our upper teeth, at the edges of our upper teeth, right? And we say the. When we put a fatha on it, we say the. For this letter, this is articulated when the tip of the tongue it touches, the back sides of the both upper and lower incisors, right? The back part of the upper as well as lower teeth, front teeth. So we make this s sound. S. For this letter, our teeth, like the upper and lower teeth, they come closer, right? They come closer, and we make this seen sound of letter. Here with the fatha we say sa, sa. So you're already familiar with the sound of English alphabet S, sa here, right? So this is a different sound, but this is the sound of S letter in English. So the articulation points of these both are different. The first letter, tip of the tongue, touches the tip of our upper teeth, and this is a soft letter, right? There isn't any whistle sound in this letter because, just tip of the tongue touches the tip of our upper teeth, so that is a soft sound, and there isn't any much air or whistle sound removed. For this seen letter, there is a whistle sound in it. Okay, so let's see the difference. I'm saying the, the. This is sa, sa. You should be feeling the, the whistle sound in it, and I'm not making this in this here. Okay, this is sa, sa, and this is sa, sa. I'm, intentionally making this whistle sound when I'm, removing the air from my mouth. I'm intentionally removing the, air as well as whistle sound for this. Sa, sa, and this is sa, sa. There isn't any whistle in this. Let's see the example here as well. This is thamara, thamara, sa at the start, sa. I'm not saying sa, sa, no whistle sound. I'm saying thamara, thamara. Here in this word, thumma, thumma. I'm not saying thumma. The sound, the whistle sound should not be there. I'm not saying su. Rather, I'm saying thumma. Okay, so the next example here is labatha, labatha. At the end, I'm saying sa, labatha. And I'm not making this whistle sound of sa. I'm not saying labasa, sa. Rather, labatha. Okay, let's see the example here. This is sama'a, sa, sama'a. This is sawfa, sawfa. You should be hearing the sound, right? This the sound. Sawfa, lamasa, sa, right? So there is this whistle sound you will hear. Why? Because our teeth, they come closer and we are just removing the air from between them, right? The upper and the lower teeth, and from those, from between them, we are, removing the air from our mouth, and that is how this whistle sound is produced. For these, that is not the case because articulation is different. So rather than, making our teeth come closer, upper and lower, we are, rather than that, we are just touching the tip of our tongue to the upper edge of the upper teeth, right? So in this, the tongue is involved as well, right? In this, it was more, it had more to do with these, with us, removing or pushing sound from, like from the air from our mouth, from between, from between the upper and lower teeth. Okay, so that is the difference between these two. This is the, and this is the, seen letter. The and s. Okay, I hope you know the difference for these now as well. Okay, let's see the next difference. This is of letter seen now with saw the letter. Letter seen with sawd. Okay, so what is the difference between these two? Their articulation points now is same. For the previous one of sa letter and seen, the articulation points were different as well. But here the articulation point is same as well. So let's see how they are same. I mentioned that seen letter is articulated when, the tip of the tongue, it touches the back part of our, like the underside of our upper as well as lower teeth, right? The incisors. So when the tip of the tongue touches the back part of our upper teeth and lower teeth, that is how we say the letter seen. And like obviously for this, our upper and lower teeth, they come closer, right? And the ear is removed as well, and there is this whistle sound as well. So same is just the case with saw the letter. This is how much their articulation point is same. Like there is this whistle sound in letter sod as well. There is this air that we remove from our mouth for sod letter as well. So articulation point is also same. So their articulation points and the quality of whistle sound and air comes out of mouth, this is same. What here is the difference is that this first letter of seen is a light letter and the second letter of sod is a heavy letter, right? So sod is the letter from the seven heavy letters that I mentioned earlier. From those letters which, like the abbreviation says, خص ضغط قيض. So that was the abbreviation to remember them, and sod is from one of those. So I mentioned that for heavy letters, what do? We raise the back part of the tongue to make them sound heavy, or we try to make our mouth full to say them. So let's see the example here. So on seen letter, I put a fatha symbol, and we say sa, sa sound, sa. And when we put a fatha here on saw the letter, the sound becomes fo, fo. This is sa, sa, empty mouth sound, sa. And this is fo, fo, fo. I'm making the sound heavy by raising the back part of my tongue, right? Fo. This is sa and fo. Let's see another, difference. Okay, so if we place a hamza before seen, this will become as, as. And if we place a hamza before sod and make sod sakin, we will say alf, alf, right? I am making my mouth full. I'm saying alf. I am not saying as, and alf. This is a light letter of sa, and this is a heavy letter for. Sa, for. Okay, let's see some other examples as well. This word here is stama'a, stama'a. Okay, so the word here is sabara, so, sabara. I'm not saying sabara, sa. I'm saying so, sabara, right? So this is a light sa sound, sama'a. And this is a heavy so sound, so. And I'm saying sabara, sabara. Let's see the next word, sawfa, sawfa. And here is صوبة, صوبة. I'm not saying saw. I'm making my mouth full, right? Making a heavy sound and saying صوبة. Back part of the tongue is raised. صوبة. Okay, next example here is أسماء, asma'a. And here, ashabu, aus sound, ashabu. There was us, and here, aus, ashabu. I hope the difference is clear for this as well, inshallah. Let's move on to the next one here. Okay, so what happens, I am just discussing the differences of all of these similar looking, or you can say similar sounding specifically letters. So I'm, going to cover, inshallah, these all of these today, the differences, okay? And if you want to remember certain things, if you want to listen to things again, you can, inshallah, listen to the recordings for that, okay? So the things will be much more clear if you listen to that again, inshallah. So the difference here of is of letter kaf and of, kaf and of. So this the articulation points here are not, exactly the same, but there is a little difference. They are very, very close articulation points. For this kaf letter, the back part of the tongue, it touches the soft as well as hard palate above. Okay, back part of the tongue touches the soft as well as hard palate above. And we make a sound here of ka, ka, ka. This is just like the K sound of English, ka. But for this qaf letter, qaf, this heavy letter, the back part of the tongue only touches the soft palate with strength. Okay, back part of the tongue touches the soft palate with strength, and we make this sound of qa, qa here. This was ka, empty mouth sound. This was qa. Why? Because the first letter here is a light letter, the second is a heavy letter. Let's see the example. Here, when we place a hamza before kaf letter, we say ak, ak, the kaf here letter, right? Of ka, ak. So here, if you place a hamza before qaf letter, the heavy one, that will be aq, aq, right? So they are very different, right? Very different sounds. This was ka and this was qa. Let's see more example here. The word here is kana, kana. So here we have like qala, qala, right? So here the qaf letter is a heavy one. Qa, qala. The sound is more clear, here more clear in terms of, the way the back part of the tongue touches the soft palate with strength. So that is like a qa, heavy clear sound of qaf. Qala. The next word here is qamara, qa, qa. I'm not saying the ka sound, ka. I'm saying qa, qamara. And here qawmu, qawmu. Like here we say karama, ka, karama. This is kafaru, ka, kafaru, right? So this is the difference, like the ka sound and qa, qa. Okay, so this is the difference between these two letters. Let's move on to the next one. So these are the three letters. The first is named as the letter, the. The second is the letter, zal, and the third is wa letter, wa. Okay, so the difference between these three is that, the first letter is, or, like kind of quite different than the next two. Why? In terms of the articulation. This is a different when it comes to the articulation, or you can say this can be a bit, not the similar articulation point to to the next two, but you can say a bit, close articulation point, but not exactly the same. So the articulation point for this za letter is different than the next two. The next two letters, whereas, they have the same articulation point, right? So I mentioned that when the two letters, they have same articulation points, so like what happens is that the difference created between two is that one will be light and the other will be heavy. So that is the case here with letter zal and wa letter. That zal letter here is a light letter, and the next is heavy letter of wa. So let's discuss first of all these two, and then we will do that, this one. So for these two letters, the tip of the tongue, it touches the tip of our upper teeth, like softly, lightly, right? And we say the here. When we place a fatha, we say the. The name of the letter is dal, but with a fatha, we say the. Here, the letter has, this is a law letter with a fatha. So we make a sound law, law. This was the, and this is law. So you will feel that I'm making the first sound light and the second sound is heavy. The articulation is same and both are soft letters, just the differences of light and heavy. So let's, say this again. This is the, and this is law. I'm raising the back part of my tongue and saying law, the law. Okay, for both of these, my tongue is there on the edge of the upper teeth. Okay, it touches the edge of the upper teeth. Let's see the example here, and with first dal here, we say dhalika, dhalika, dal letter, dhalika. The next example is with this wa, and we say walama, wa. I'm not saying the lama. This is not the lama. This is walama, the heavy sound of letter wa. Dhalika and walama. So the next example here is kadhaba, kadhaba. The dal letter here with a fatha, and we make a light sound kadhaba. The next here example with the letter wad, right? So we say wahara, wa letter. So the difference of these two letters with this za here is that their articulation point is different, and this za letter, it comes when the tip of the tongue it touches the back part of our both upper as well as lower teeth, right? Both upper and lower incisors, and we make a buzzing sound, a vibrating sound for this za letter as well, right? So when we place a fatha on letter za, we make this buzzing and vibrating sound, and we say z, z, right? So let's see the example here of zalulan, zalulan. Okay, so the sound is very clear. There is this whistle sound, this buzzing sound, as well as vibrating sound in this letter. Unlike these two letters, these were the soft letters. But for this letter, this letter is a letter with a buzzing sound in this. So that is the main difference with the other two. So we say zum, zum, right? So that is how we say the sound here. Okay, so this is the difference between these three letters. Let's move on to, I guess, last one of all of these. So the last difference is with these wa that we just did right now, the soft letter, and with the bod letter. So these two letters are very different, but still I'm making a comparison of these two. Why? Because for beginners they can be a problem as well. So the first letter here is a wa letter. Articulation point is tip of the tongue touches the tip of our upper teeth, and we make a soft sound and say a wa, walama, right? Walama. This makes a wa sound. For this lod, I mentioned that this is the heaviest letter and our articulation point is altogether different. So for this, the sides of the back part of the tongue, they touch the upper molar wisdom teeth, and this is the heaviest letter. So the back part of the tongue should be, used as much as we can. And we say law, law, just in this example of ضرب, ضرب. First one was a law, law, and the second sound is of law. What I've, the 2 points I have mentioned here on this slide is that this law, this sound is like near to the Z letter sound of English, like, but not that sound, but this is like near to the Z sound. The second is that this lod sound, like is similar to the form of the th sound of the sound in English. Again, not like that, but I'm just mentioning the difference that this sound is a bit more closer to the z sound, and this sound is a bit more closer to the th sound of the, right? So that is like a major difference. Let's hear the sound one more time, and that then we will inshallah finish this lesson. This is letter wa, and we say this walama. This is the Dad letter, and we say it like ضرب. So this is like the difference between these two. They are altogether different. And yes, we have like covered all of the differences between similar sounding letters. And for today, this is too much, I think. But inshallah, when you will listen to the recordings, that will be provided to you in the group, inshallah, the link of which, okay. So you will get to remember these with time, inshallah, as well. So if anybody has any query, they can ask me, and then we can inshallah end this lesson, because already time is up for us.